I'm Hannah Reed, 32, and most days my life in Chicago runs on small victories. A kid at my clinic finally says S without hiding his mouth. A mom cries happy tears in the hallway. I walk home past the bakery on Lincoln Avenue with a paper cup of coffee and the kind of tired that feels honest. My apartment is one bedroom, creaky floors, plants on the sill that lean toward the sun like they're praying. It is not fancy. It is mine. I met Mark at a fundraiser at the Adler Planetarium in late 2022. I was there because a friend had a spare ticket. He was there because his firm bought a table. Lights glittered over Lake Michigan like a second sky. Mark asked if I wanted to slip out before the speeches. I laughed. Is that allowed? It is if we still donate, he said, grinning. Tacos? There's a truck on Columbus. We ate standing up, elbows knocking, salsa on his cuff, and I remember thinking, he's handsome, but more than that, he's easy. No slides to impress. No voice that fills the room to hear itself. Just a man who listened while I talked about kiddos learning to tie shoes, and who said, that matters, in a way that felt like truth. We were different. Yes. He grew up in Lake Forest where hedges have better haircuts than I do. I grew up in Naperville in a ranch house with mismatched plates that made every table look like a party. My dad repaired HVAC units. My mom worked nights at the hospital gift shop. There was always coffee, always a stack of coupons, always a jar for vacation that usually turned into new tires. We didn't have a lot, but we had what I still count as wealth: jokes at breakfast, a front porch for thunderstorms, and parents who said, you can do hard things, until I believed them. With Mark, the first months felt like a movie that chose quiet instead of fireworks. You like fancy? He asked once, when we passed a place with a velvet rope. I like good, I said. He smiled. Good is better. He saw my world and liked it. Bodega flowers on Fridays, bus rides, window seats. We cooked pasta in my tiny kitchen and argued about the right amount of garlic like it mattered. He always did the dishes. Sleeves rolled up, shoulder warm against mine. I saw his world in pieces, clean lines, orderly calendars. The way his shoes matched his belt like a rule. He took me to a concert at Symphony Center and held my hand like it was the most natural thing. The shadows were small at first, which is how shadows work. In January, he said, Mom wants to do brunch. She's particular. Particular how? He shrugged. She likes things a certain way. Don't take it personally. I didn't plan to. I even felt excited. New people, new family, a chance to be seen. I wore a thrifted camel coat that fits like luck and a pair of heels I practiced in across my living room. On the drive up, I watched the houses get larger and the trees get older, like the neighborhood had been saving its breath for a long time. Brunch was silver and linen and a bowl of lemons that looked like they'd been styled. Veronica's smile was perfect. Her eyes were not. So you work with children, she said, pouring coffee without looking at me spill a little. I do. Pediatric occupational therapy, mostly sensory and fine motor. How sweet, she said. Pretty work. Pretty. The word sat like a paper napkin where a linen one should be. She asked neat questions. Where did you go to school? What do your parents do? Which street in Lincoln Square? She said Mark's ex's name casually, like a garnish. Brooke Whitman. Her father's at Northwestern Memorial. Still single. Last I heard. Such a poised girl. You'd remember her posture. I swallowed and smiled. I learned long ago that some people shoot arrows with compliments for feathers. After brunch, in the foyer, there was a photo. Actually, there were many. Mark at 9 with a gap tooth, Paige in a white dress on a dock. Family on steps made for family portraits. Someone said, let's take one before you go. Veronica lined us up. Family first, she said, and that was that. Family stood. I stood off to the side and pretended to fix my sleeve. In the car, Mark said, you were great. Your mom is elegant. I said, she is. He agreed, as if elegance were a virtue that covered all other truths. She called my work pretty. She meant it kindly, he said. She just doesn't know the right words. I wanted to believe him. I did believe him. Mostly because love is a generous editor. Back in the city, we stopped for street pretzels and he brushed salt from my lip with his thumb and I let the day edit itself down to that. A week later a cream envelope arrived, heavy paper. Return address in Lake Forest. Inside was an invitation to a spring gala. My name wasn't on the card. It read, Mr. Mark Ellison plus guest. I laughed to myself and set it on the counter. My plants leaned toward the light. As always, I whispered to them, good is better. Like a blessing. Like a plan. I told myself then what I would tell you now. This story is not about steak. It's about belonging. It's about the moment you realize that silence is not kindness and that being easy can cost you the parts of yourself you promised to protect. I didn't know it yet, but a table was coming that would teach me how to keep that promise. The second time I saw Veronica, February wind pushed us through the country club doors like we were late to something important. Mark held the brass handle for me. It's casual, he whispered. Casual had a lobby chandelier and a pianist. Veronica appeared from a hallway that smelled like lemon polish. Mark, she said, arms out. A perfect air kiss that never touched his cheek. To me, a measured smile. Hannah, so good you could join us. I handed her a small bouquet, tulips, winter bright, for you. How cheerful, she said, already turning. She passed them to a server. Please put these somewhere cool. Somewhere cool felt like a synonym for out of sight. We sat at a round table dressed like a wedding. Charles joined us. Phone face down. Posture military. Paige arrived 10 minutes later. Coat you could see your face in. Andrew came last, apologizing to no one and everyone. Menus opened like portfolios. Veronica didn't look at hers. Chef knows what we like. She told the server. We'll begin with the crab cakes. Dressings on the side. Coffee? I asked Mark softly. He squeezed my knee under the table. They'll bring it. Veronica folded her hands. Hannah, remind me which program you attended. Midwest University for my master's. I said. OT. I focus on sensory processing. Fine motor. How sweet, she said again, as if the word had been monogrammed for me. Do you plan to advance? Administration, perhaps? I like treating kids, I said, hands-on. Of course, she said, turning to Paige. Did you confirm the gala committee for April? Done, Paige said. Brooke's mother is chairing decor. She secured the glass vendor from last year. Brooke again. The glassware had a better seat at this table than I did. Crab cakes arrived, for small circles. The kind that make you pretend you aren't hungry. The server set plates clockwise. He skipped me and circled back. A small hesitation like a stutter. Excuse me, Veronica said. Lightly, she's with us. He blushed, placed the plate, fled. It happens. She told no one in particular. Mark cleared his throat. How's work? Mom? Brisk, she said, which I learned meant busy for people who never stand in lines. Charles asked Mark about the firm. Numbers rolled. I buttered a roll I didn't want and listened to money talk like weather. Between courses, Veronica aimed polite darts. Which street did you say? Lincoln Square is lively. Parking must be a challenge. It is, I said. That's why I take the bus. How urban of you, she said, as if I'd claimed to commute by canoe. Paige leaned in, tone sister-friendly, words not. For the gala, the invitation will read Mr. Mark Ellison and guest. That's standard. We don't print every +1. It would look crowded. I'm not concerned about fonts, I said, smiling. I'll be there to support Mark and the cause. Of course, she said, then tapped her bracelet against the glass. Isn't this sweet, Mom? Very you, Veronica said. Delicate. I looked at my thrifted ring. Steel, scratched, strong. Delicate wasn't the compliment they thought it was. Salads came. The server placed dressing between Andrew and me. He set down 3 forks. Veronica lifted a brow at him. He returned with a 4th. The table smiled like the mistake was a child we forgave. I smiled, too, but inside, something took a small note. Mark tried. He asked about my clinic. We added a handwriting group. I said, third graders who hate pencils. We play games. They don't notice they're practicing. That's adorable, Veronica said, like I'd described a puppy in a hat. Rewarding, Charles said, surprising me. I had a teacher who changed my handwriting, changed my grades, too. Veronica patted his sleeve. You're sentimental today. When the main course arrived, Veronica waved off the potatoes. None for me. She looked at my plate. You're thin. Metabolism like a rabbit. I run on coffee and stickers. I said, kids will do anything for a sticker. Paige laughed. It was real. For a second. We were just women at lunch, not roles in a quiet play. After, photos, a wall lined with framed proof, vacations, galas, family on stairs. A staff member approached with a camera. Mrs. Ellison, shall I? Thank you, Veronica said. Family first. Everyone moved without thinking. A choreography learned in childhood. I stepped back, already on the edge of the frame. Mark looked at me, then at his mother. Let's do one of all of us, he said. Of course, Veronica said, after the family shot. Flash, smile, flash, laughter. Then, now everyone, she allowed, like a concession. We arranged ourselves. I stood beside Mark but felt like an insert in a magazine. Something you could tear out and the article would still make sense. On the drive back to the city, the lake was a sheet of gray metal. Mark drummed the steering wheel. You okay? I can handle particular, I said. I can't handle erasing. He winced. She's set in her ways. So am I said gently. In mine, everyone at the table is seen. He reached for my hand. I see you. I know, I said, and I did. But love seeing you and a mother seeing you are different kinds of light. One warms. One decides who is allowed inside. That night I took the cream invitation from my counter and wrote my name under Mark's in pen. Not for them to see. For me, a small, stubborn place card no one could misplace. I slid it back into the envelope, tucked it in a drawer, and told myself a simple truth I would keep repeating. Even when the room pretended not to hear, I belong where I stand. Spring turned to a string of small tests, none big enough to call a fight, all sharp enough to leave marks. At the April gala, the name card read Mr. Mark Ellison plus guest ***. The font was pretty. I smiled anyway and took my seat. When the photographer did rounds, Veronica said, family first, soft as sugar. I stood until the second photo, when everyone else had already chosen places that made sense. Later that night, a board member I'd just met said, so how long have you been with the firm? I don't, I said. I work with kids. OT. Oh, she brightened. How sweet. There it was again, the word that put my work in a lace box. In May, Mark proposed on the Riverwalk with a ring that caught the last light. People clapped. I cried happy. He asked, too fast? Just right, I said, and I meant it. We married in August. City Hall and a small dinner. My parents hugged him like a found son. Veronica smiled for the photos and corrected the florist. Peonies, not roses. They photograph better. Afterward, at the Ellison house, I looked at the framed family staircase wall. Space for new pictures. Ours wasn't there yet. We're waiting on the professional edits, Veronica said, which made sense for a week, then a month, then longer. Autumn brought a charity tea at the club. I emailed Veronica beforehand, * if you ever need extra hands for auction prep. I'm happy to help, *. She replied the same day. * committee is already set. Thank you, dear, *. 2 days later, Paige posted a story, so excited to welcome new volunteers to the auction team. Names tagged, not mine. I tapped the screen once. then put my phone face down and rolled Play-Doh snakes with a 6-year-old who kept calling me Miss Handa. At a September cookout by the lake, Veronica handed me a tray. "Could you take these outside?" "Sure," I said. I passed sliders like a cheerful waitress and came back to find the family gathering for a boat photo. "Just the Ellisons," someone said, not unkindly. I stood beside Aunt Ruth on the dock, plates balanced, and watched the boat pull away in perfect formation. She leaned in. "You can love people and not hand them your dignity," she murmured. "I know," I said. "I'm learning." Little things pilled up. At a fall cocktail thing, servers made a loop and somehow missed me twice with the canapes, then with champagne. Veronica noticed both times and didn't speak. Andrew nodded when I said hello and then discussed wine with a partner for 20 minutes like I wasn't there. Paige took my elbow near the bar, voice soft. "Tip, at formal dinners, ankles crossed, not knee over knee, and the napkin triangle points toward you." I smiled. "Got it. Also," she added, "when you finish, you place your fork and knife at 4 o'clock. I'll survive if they're at 5, I said lightly. She laughed, quick and real, then checked her reflection in the window. I started keeping dots, that's what I called them, in my notes app. Not a diary, just dates and one-line facts. Asterisk September 10th, family photo without me. Asterisk September 23rd, invite read plus guest. Asterisk October 2nd, committee already set. New volunteers added on IG. Asterisk minimal words. Enough to draw a picture later, if I needed it. Mark tried to bridge water he didn't see. "Mom wants perfection. It's not about you," he said, driving back down Lakeshore. "It is when I'm the only one left out," I said. He exhaled. "I'll talk to her." He did. He came back with a summary. "She said she's misunderstood. She said you're sensitive." "I am," I said, "to patterns." One night in October, I arrived a half hour early to help for a small dinner at their place, just 12 partners and spouses. The caterer's assistant was unpacking trays in the kitchen. She glanced at the clipboard. "We had 23 on the original count," she said, more to herself than to me. "But Mrs. Ellison confirmed 22 this morning." She scratched out a number and rewrote it. "Last-minute changes," I said. "Happens," she said, cheerful. "We always plan for a couple extra." My stomach did a small, mean flip. I wiped the counter and said nothing. It was a dot. The holidays approached like a test I hadn't studied for. At Thanksgiving, Veronica announced a family-only Secret Santa draw. Names were put in a cut glass bowl. I reached for a slip. "Oh, Hannah," she said lightly, "we pre-drew for family, but I do have something for you." She handed me a cellophane-wrapped candle that smelled like a hotel lobby. "So thoughtful," I said, "because I am polite even when I am burning." In December, we attended a fundraiser where Brooke's mother worked the room with an effortless glide. Veronica brought her over. "Hannah, this is Catherine Whitman. Her daughter Brooke was close with Mark. Catherine. Hannah works with children. Occupational, something. Therapy," I said. "Hands-on." "How generous," Catherine said. "We simply adore service-minded people." I smiled and thought, "I'm not a volunteer at your gala. I'm a professional." But I said, "Nice to meet you." On New Year's Eve, my parents came up for dinner at our apartment. We ate lasagna and laughed at a movie until midnight. After they left, I told Mark, quiet, "I can live with different. I can't live with disappearing." He put his head in his hands. "I don't know how to be in the middle." "You don't have to be," I said. "You have to choose." He looked at me like the word scared him. January snow fell, then melted into gray slush. The retirement dinner invitation arrived on thick white card. Calligraphed curls like a promise. 23 seats at a long table. Veronica told Mark on the phone, "Everything will be perfect." "It always is," he said. I ran my thumb along the envelope edge and felt the same small needle I'd been feeling for months. The pattern wore pearls and called itself manners. But patterns are just choices repeated, and someone was going to stop choosing for me. The retirement dinner lived in its own envelope, thicker paper, deeper ink, a weight that said, "Don't fold me." Mark read it at the counter while I rinsed coffee cups. Dad finally agreed. He said, "Semi-retirement. Mom's throwing it at the house. Black tie. Date? October 21st, 7 o'clock. 23 at the table." 23. I repeated. A number can be a promise or a warning. I called Aunt Ruth that night. "You going?" She laughed softly. "Charles asked me himself. Your Veronica didn't love it." "Good," I said, and she heard the strain I tried to hide. "You don't have to win," Ruth said. "You just have to stay true." I decided to make it easy for myself where I could. I picked a simple black gown that wouldn't fight me when I sat. Shoes I could walk in. Hair pinned low so I wouldn't touch it when I got nervous. I practiced answers to small talk questions like they were exam flashcards. The week before, I sent Veronica a short note, *thank you for including me. Happy to help if you need hands beforehand. Her reply was clean. *staff is secured. See you then, *. On the drive up, trees flashed yellow and red like the suburbs had put on a show. Mark tapped the steering wheel. "It's going to be a big night," he said. "Dad hates being the center of attention." "Then we'll talk about anything else," I said. "Weather, dogs, how to make perfect rice." He smiled. "Please, your rice isn't perfect. It's good." "Good is better," he said, and for a mile we were back to being us. The Ellison house glowed from the road, columns, uplights, stone that knew its price. A valet opened my door. The foyer smelled like polished wood and something citrus. Staff took coats like they were handling art. Somewhere, a quartet tuned. Veronica appeared in silver. "Mark." She kissed the air near his cheek. To me, Hannah. A nod, as if we'd emailed about an invoice. "Congratulations on the party," I said. "It's beautiful." "Thank you," she said without owning the compliment. "Bar is in the salon. Champagne is being passed." It was, just not to me. 2 servers flowed by, trays held high. Each time they reached our cluster, flutes landed neatly in hands around me and then the tray turned. I watched one server's eyes flick to Veronica. He shifted his route, kept moving. Aunt Ruth slipped in beside me in midnight blue. "Want to split mine?" she murmured. "I'll find one," I said. "I'm not thirsty." I was lying. My mouth tasted like nerves. Guests slid through rooms like they belonged in magazines. Partners from the firm. Charles's brother with a smile like Mark's. Paige clinking bracelets. Andrew talking vintages like they were memories. I said hello to people I recognized and to people who looked at my face and searched for my label. Mark stayed close at first. Then Charles called him over, and they stood with a circle of men whose suits hung just right. I wandered to the dining room. The table was a stage, mahogany the color of coffee, candles, flowers low enough to talk over, silver placed like rulers had measured it, calligraphed cards curved at the top of each plate like little doors. I took a quiet lap, looking for HANNAH in ink that would mean something. I didn't find it. I checked again because hopeful people always check twice. Paige's name, Andrew's, partners and spouses, Mr. and Mrs. Where tradition hadn't noticed time. I stood at the end of the table, palm on wood, and let my face learn to be calm. Mark found me there. "You okay?" "I don't see my card," I said. He frowned, scanned like a boy on an Easter egg hunt. "We'll pull up another chair. It's fine." "It's not fine," I said softly, "but it's a solution." He squeezed my shoulder. "I'll fix it." He went to find a staff member. I stayed where I was and watched a server place tiny salt dishes in front of every setting. 23 little white squares. 22, if you believed the morning's head count. "Lovely, isn't it?" Veronica's voice arrived without her footsteps. "It is," I said. "Place cards are an art," she said. "Eyes on the table, balance, conversation, history. You can't just put people anywhere." "I've noticed," I said, and she smiled at the table instead of me. Aunt Ruth drifted over, slow as a tide. I love the flowers, she said to me, not to Veronica. Hydrangeas are bossy, but these mind their manners. Veronica's smile thinned. Dinner in 5, she told a server. Announce courses. Someone came by with a tray of champagne. The same someone who'd missed me twice. He paused, tray hovering. Please, I said. He handed me a glass. Of course. He breathed, relief like a secret, and moved on. In the clink of silver and the low hum of those first toasts, I felt it. Tonight wasn't an accident waiting to happen. It was a pattern graduating. The empty card wasn't a mistake. The missing flute wasn't a loop in the route. Choices. Repeated. Mark returned with a chair. Between me and Ruth, he said. Best seat in the house. Best company, I corrected. He grinned and set the chair. An island in a sea of matching ones. It had no charger, no crystal, just wood and space. Thank you, I told him, and to myself. Quieter, remember this. Servers lined up like a small parade. The head server lifted his chin. Ladies and gentlemen, first course. Somewhere behind the flowers. Veronica glanced on the table and gave the tiniest nod, as if a cue had been met. The room vibrated with polite appetite. I sat, smoothed my dress, and felt the edge of the invitation like paper against skin. If the night wanted to cut, it would. I wasn't going to bleed quietly. The mahogany table was a map of intention, 23 places, each with a white card and a small fold of linen like a quiet sail. Mine was the lone island, an extra chair squeezed between Mark and Aunt Ruth. No charger, no crystal, no card asterisk asterisk. A server poured water left to right. He reached my spot, hesitated at the empty space where a goblet should be, then skipped to Aunt Ruth. She watched the motion, then looked at me. I smiled at the table like it had told a joke. Mark leaned close. They'll fix it. I know, I said. Knowing wasn't comfort. The head server announced the first course in a voice built for rooms like this. Bowls of lobster bisque landed with soft ceramic sounds. One by one, a smooth ceremony. A server passed behind me, paused, and then kept going. The space in front of me stayed bare. Aunt Ruth cleared her throat, gentle but firm. Excuse me, she said to the next server. We're one short here. He glanced, fast, toward Veronica at the head. Veronica was mid-conversation, face pleasant, eyes sharp. The server nodded. Right away. He returned with a bowl and placed it in front of me like a secret. Thank you, I said. Of course, ma'am, he whispered, already moving. Mark slid his spoon toward me. Taste mine. It's hot. I'm okay. I lifted my spoon, took a small sip. Rich, salty, good. I put the spoon down and let the warmth sit in my chest. I wished it could do more than that. Conversations rose and fell around stocks, schools, and skiing. Paige laughed lightly at something Andrew said about vintages. Charles asked a partner about a fund. I spoke when asked. Short and kind. I kept my shoulders square. It is hard to hunch when you are busy not disappearing. Plates cleared. The second course, scallops with beurre blanc. They floated in on white ovals. Steam and butter in the air. Again. The line of servers moved with practiced grace. Again. My space became a gap the way a missing tooth does, more visible because everything else is perfect. I folded my hands. Mark noticed this time. Hey, he raised a finger to catch a server. The man looked straight past him and reset a fork at another setting. Mark faced forward again, jaw tight. Then he cut one scallop in half and leaned his plate toward me. Share with me, he said, too casual. I took the half. It tasted like effort that refused to see itself. Aunt Ruth set her fork down. The small sound felt loud. We need a plate here, she said, not asking. The nearest server's neck flushed. Yes, ma'am. He disappeared. He didn't come back before plates cleared again. This is ridiculous, Mark muttered, so low only I could hear. I told them. It's fine, I said, because I am polite even when I am not fine. Because I was measuring, not begging. The sorbet course arrived in small, frosted cups, a pause, a reset. A server reached across me to place Aunt Ruth's spoon at a better angle. He left me nothing. My space reflected candlelight and nothing else. I felt my breath enter and leave. I counted to 5 and back. On the other side of the flowers, Veronica complimented the arrangement. Low is better for conversation, she said. We've learned. Laughter drifted. Neat and obedient. Charles looked down the table and frowned, like he'd misplaced a thought. Our eyes met for a second. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Old habits carry weight. Mark's hand found my knee under the tablecloth. He squeezed twice. I'm here. I placed my hand over his once, then moved it back to my lap. Presence and protection are not the same thing. Around us, small talk found its grooves. Someone compared Aspen to Vale. Someone else said the market would like the new chair at the Fed. Paige gave a miniature lecture on champagne flutes versus coupes and ended with, both are correct, but tradition matters. She didn't look at me when she said it. She didn't need to. A staffer slid a water glass to my right at last. Plain and sweating. No wine glass. No knife reset. It looked like mercy in a room that preferred manners. Aunt Ruth leaned closer. Breathe, she said. You don't have to win the room. You only have to not lose yourself. I hear you, I said. My voice was steady. I was almost proud of that. From the kitchen came a faint sound, metal, flame, the hiss that means steak. The room changed shape. People straightened. Napkins were patted. Scent moved forward like a story about to arrive. Mark glanced at me. Main course, he said. Unnecessary words meant to fill a space we both felt. Right, I said. Servers lined up at the door. Silver trays lifted. The head server gave a small nod, and the parade began. Plates descended in order. Meat shining. Vegetables stacked. Potatoes like clouds. Compliments started before forks did. I watched the line come closer. Plate after plate after plate. I watched a server I'd seen earlier measure his steps, lift his tray, check names, set down portions. He reached our end of the table and paused at my almost setting, his eyes flicking left, then far down the table towards silver and posture. He put something down in front of me, not a steak, not potatoes. A small, plain salad. I looked at the bowl, then at Aunt Ruth, then at Mark, who stared at his plate like he had been given instructions. The room hummed with appetite. Knives touched meat. A compliment flew down the table to Veronica, perfectly done, and she received it with a small, humble tilt of her head. I placed my hands on either side of the salad. I felt the wood under the linen, the edge of something sharp pressed against the night. Waiting. Enjoy, the server said, and moved on. The salad sat in front of me like a joke no one wanted to claim. Around us, knives met steak with soft clicks. Butter shone. Compliments floated. I lifted my water, set it down, and felt my hands steady. Aunt Ruth's fork stopped. Veronica, she said, calm as a bell. Why does Hannah have a salad when everyone else has steak? Heads turned. Not all at once, first the people closest, then the rest. Like a wave reaching shore. Veronica dabbed at her mouth with linen. She didn't look at me. She looked at Aunt Ruth and smiled the way glass smiles. I only ordered for family, she said. The room went still. Even the quartet sounded far away, like music from another house. Mark didn't look up. Not here, he whispered, cutting another bite he didn't taste. Something inside me stood. It wasn't anger. It was air. It was space I had been bending to fill. I placed my napkin on the table, folded once. I stood. Excuse me, I said, my voice even. I'd like to say something. A fork clicked against a plate at the far end. Someone coughed. Charles looked at me straight on for the first time all night. Veronica tilted her head. Hannah, she said, this really isn't. It is, I said. And the word felt solid in my mouth. It is the time. I kept my hands at my sides so they wouldn't shake. For 2 years, I have tried to believe I was imagining this. That I was too sensitive or didn't understand how your family does things. I'm done pretending. I kept my tone clean, not a speech, a ledger. Tonight, there was no place card with my name. Servers passed me twice with champagne and once with appetizers. I was the only person without the first 2 courses. And now, while everyone here has steak, I have a plain salad. A murmur rose, then died. I didn't chase it. This isn't a single mistake, I said. It is a pattern. Last spring, the gala invitation was Mr. Mark Ellison plus guest. In summer, I was asked to step out of a family photo. In September, I was told the auction committee was already set, and 2 days later new volunteers were posted on Instagram. At Thanksgiving, there was a family-only gift draw. I was handed a candle. I let the word sit. A few faces changed shape. Last week, the caterer's assistant said the count changed from 23 to 22 this morning. Paige stared at her plate. Andrew cleared his throat and reached for his glass, found it already full, and didn't drink. I looked at Mark. I told you I could handle particular. I can't handle erasing. He finally raised his eyes. They were red at the edges. Hannah, please, not tonight. This is exactly tonight, I said. Your father's life is being honored. Mine is not being erased in the process. Veronica's smile didn't move, but her eyes did. No one has erased you, she said lightly. You are being dramatic. You know how counts work. Chefs plan exact portions. And truly, she gestured at my bowl, a lighter option is often appreciated. By whom? Aunt Ruth said. The person being humiliated? Charles set his knife down. The sound was small and final. Veronica, he said. Quiet. This looks bad. It looks orderly, she replied. It looks like standards. It looks cruel, I said. Not loud, not sharp. True, and I will not stay where I am uninvited. Silence settled. The kind you hear in hospitals, in courtrooms, in rooms where choices arrive. Veronica exhaled a tiny breath. If you feel unwelcome, Hannah, that is your perception. We've always welcomed you into our home. No, I said. You welcomed Mark. You tolerated me. You compared me to Brooke. You called my work pretty like it was decoration. You arranged rooms that made me invisible and then blamed my eyes for not seeing myself. I looked down the table, person by person, not accusing, asking. You saw it, I said softly. Maybe not every piece, but you felt it. The missing plate, the skipped pour, the way I stood off to the side of photos while you told yourselves you were decent people. A partner's wife flushed. Another man looked at his hands. Mark's voice came, thin. He stopped. I'm sorry, he said, but he was saying it to the plate, to the room, to something that wasn't me. I nodded once. I hope you mean that, I said, for yourself. Then I took a breath and said the line I had been practicing in the quiet parts of my mind without knowing it. I won't eat where I'm not counted. I won't stay where I'm not family. I pushed my chair in, neat, the way Paige would approve. I placed the napkin on the table, the way Veronica would. I reached for my clutch. Don't be theatrical, Veronica said, a crack at the edge of her voice. This is not theater, I said. This is a boundary. Aunt Ruth stood. I'll walk with you. You don't have to, I said. I want to, she said, and the want in her voice landed like a hand on my back. I looked once more at Mark. He stared at his half-cut steak. He didn't stand. Congratulations, Charles, I said quietly, meeting his eyes. On your career. He gave a small, broken nod. I turned and walked the length of the table. Candles flickered. Hydrangeas smelled like nothing at all. Somewhere behind me, the quartet kept playing a song for people who stayed seated. In the foyer, the air felt different, lighter, colder, real. A staff member hurried with my coat, unsure if he should meet my eyes. I met his. Thank you, I said. He relaxed a fraction and helped me into the sleeves. Aunt Ruth's heels clicked up behind me. We reached the door. I pressed my palm to the glass. The night waited like fresh air. I stepped outside. Cold air met my face like truth. The valet looked past me and then remembered his training. Car? He asked. I'm driving her, Aunt Ruth said, already at my elbow. Her voice had a code in it. We walked to her sedan. The quartet's music drifted through the door when it opened for another guest, soft, polite, from a different world. I sat, buckled, stared at my hands. They weren't shaking anymore. Halfway down the long drive, my phone started. Mark. I let it ring out. A voicemail pinged. Then another. We reached the road. Ruth set the wipers for a mist that wasn't rain. The third call. I silenced it. Do you want the radio? Ruth asked. No. We drove the Lake Forest streets that look like magazine pages. My screen lit again. Asterisk, where are you? Asterisk then, asterisk, how could you do that tonight? Asterisk then, asterisk, call my mother. Fix this. Asterisk, I set the phone face down in my lap. Ruth kept her eyes on the road. You were steady, she said. I've seen people shout for less. I wasn't hungry, I said. Not for steak. Not for a fight. Chicago rose up. Lights flickering in the lake like someone dropped a handful of coins. At Ruth's building, the doorman greeted us by name. Inside, she made tea the way people from my childhood did, too strong. Splash of milk. Honey if you must. I wrapped both hands around the mug and felt something in my ribs unclench. Sleep here, she said. Guest room's ready. I don't want to be trouble. You're not, she said. Your family. I nodded and felt it land. In the little room, I stacked my shoes neatly, set my phone on the dresser, and watched the ceiling. The voicemails waited like closed doors. At 12:41 a.m., I pressed play on the first. Mark's voice was tight. Hannah, please, come back inside. We can talk after. Second, you embarrassed my mother on Dad's night. What was the plan? Why? He breathed hard. Call me. Third, just call Mom and apologize. We'll sort it out. I lay there with the phone on my chest and whispered to the dark. I won't apologize for being invisible. At 2:13 a.m., a text lit the room. Asterisk, you made her cry. Asterisk, another at 2:27. Asterisk, Dad is furious with me. Asterisk, neither mentioned what I had eaten or not eaten. Morning brought sun on the brick and the smell of toast. Ruth slid a plate toward me. You don't have to decide anything today, she said. I need to pack a bag, I said. A few days, maybe more. I'll drive you, she said, and meant it. Back at our apartment, the doorman said, Morning, Ms. Reed. I nodded like my world hadn't slipped. Inside, the place was neat, Mark's order everywhere. I opened the bedroom closet and pulled a small suitcase down. Underwear, jeans, clinic scrubs, the sweater that turns every room kinder. I added my toothbrush, moisturizer, the tiny bottle of perfume my mom gave me the day I moved to the city. I took the cream invitation from my dresser drawer and slid it inside the suitcase pocket. Evidence isn't always photos. Sometimes it's paper that weighs more than it looks. Mark called again as I zipped. I watched the screen count rings. Stop. Leave grief in the air. I texted one thing, asterisk, I am safe at Aunt Ruth's. I need space to think. Do not come by today. Asterisk, he typed. Stopped. Typed. Nothing came. Back at Ruth's. I opened my notes app and started a timeline. Not poetry. Facts. Asterisk, April 15th, gala invite, Mr. Mark Ellison plus guest. Asterisk, June 3rd, family photo. Told family first. I stepped out. Asterisk, September 10th, auction email committee already set. September 12th, page IG welcoming new volunteers. Asterisk, November 24th, Secret Santa family only. Given candle. Asterisk, October 21st, retirement dinner. No place card. Missed champagne/appetizers. No first/second course. Salad only for main. Quote, I only ordered for family. I added smells, citrus, butter. Details, 23 salt dishes. Mine missing at first, and the way the server's eyes asked permission before he forgot me. I wrote exactly what I'd said out loud, because memory bends to survive. Ruth came in with her laptop. "I need to show you something," she said, and sat beside me on the couch. She opened an email thread where my name wasn't a person, it was a line item. Final headcount from Veronica's planner to the caterer. CC'd to Ruth by habit from old charity days. Asterisk dinners, 22. Desserts, 22. Seating, 22 place cards at main table. 1 overflow staff chair as needed, asterisk. Ruth tapped the date. "This morning," she said, "before dinner." It wasn't a shock. It was a click. A dot connecting to the next dot. I screenshotted the thread and forwarded it to myself. My phone buzzed with a new message. "Not Mark. Charles. Asterisk Hannah. I'm sorry. I saw what I did not stop. I have no excuse. If you are willing, I'd like to speak, asterisk." I stared at the words and felt my throat go tight. "He called it," I said. "He named it." "That matters," Ruth said. "Not enough, but it matters." I replied, asterisk, "Thank you for saying that. I need a little time. I will let you know when I'm ready to talk, asterisk." I stood and looked out at the street. Dogs pulled their people toward the park. A bus hissed, kneeled, rose. Life kept doing what life does. Mark texted, asterisk, "We can fix this. Come home, please." Asterisk, "Then, just talk to mom." I typed, deleted, typed again. Asterisk, "I will not speak to your mother before you, and I speak about boundaries. I will not apologize for asking to be counted. I need 48 hours. No calls tonight, asterisk." 3 dots. Nothing. Ruth poured more tea. "What now?" she asked. I write it down. I said, "All of it. Then I decide what I'm willing to try. And if he won't try?" I watched the sidewalk for a long beat. "Then I won't either." I opened a new note and titled it, "What Safety Looks Like." I listed simple things: my name on invitations, my seat at tables, no comparisons to exes, no family-only games, no triangulation. Mark speaks first to his mother when lines are crossed. I didn't know yet whether I'd get any of it. But for the first time in months, my lungs filled all the way. Boundaries are air. I could breathe. The next morning I turned my phone into a file cabinet. No music, no news, just screens and proof. I opened photos and made an album called Dots. I dropped in a picture of the gala card that read Mr. Mark Ellison plus guest. I added a screenshot of Paige's story welcoming new volunteers 2 days after I'd been told the committee was set. I zoomed in on a family staircase photo from last summer, me off to the side, cut by a frame edge, and saved that too. Small things, yes, but together they made a shape. Ruth printed the caterer email on her old inkjet. The subject line, "Final headcount. Dinners, 22. Desserts, 22. Seating, 22 place cards at main table. 1 overflow staff chair as needed." She slid the paper toward me with a fresh stapler. "Hard copies matter," she said. "People take them more seriously than screens." I found the cream retirement invitation in my suitcase pocket and added it to the stack. Paper has weight. It teaches hands to feel. Mark texted, "Can we please talk today?" I looked at my list, 48 hours, and replied, "Tomorrow. Coffee shop near Ruth's at 10, neutral ground." "Okay." He wrote. Then, "Thank you." A minute later, a new message from an unknown number, Andrew. "Hannah, it's Andrew. I'm sorry. Last night was ugly. That's on us. If you need me to speak to Mark, I will." I stared at the screen. Andrew had always kept a tidy distance. "Thank you." I typed, "If you speak with him, ask him what he's willing to protect, not who." "Agreed," he sent back. Then nothing, which is what apology looks like when it isn't trying to be forgiven. Paige called. I let it ring, then texted instead, "I can't talk yet." She replied, "I should have said something at the table. I was a coward." "You were a daughter." I wrote, "I get it. I just can't be erased to keep the peace." "Long text incoming?" she asked. No, just this: if you ever see it again, say it out loud in the room. I will, she wrote. After a beat, I'm sorry she compared you to Brooke. She does that when she's scared. Charles emailed again, I would like to meet privately, not to persuade, to admit and to plan different. I answered, after I meet Mark. Yes, this week. Thank you. He wrote. The 2 words looked honest on the screen. I built a timeline doc on Ruth's laptop, dates down the left, 1-line facts down the right. I added times where I had them, and tiny details that kept memory honest: the citrus polish, the 23 salt dishes, the server's eyes checking down the table. I typed out what I had said at dinner word for word while I still remembered the shape of each sentence. I printed that too. Ruth set a simple folder on the coffee table. Blue, no label. Your folder, she said. Put everything in and don't apologize for having it. Inside went the invitation, the headcount email, the timeline, and a single page titled Boundaries. My name on invitations and place cards. No family-only games that exclude spouses. No comparisons to exes. No triangulation. Mark addresses issues with his mother directly. When a line is crossed, a repair happens the same day. If the boundary isn't respected, we leave the event. No drama, just leave. Simple, not a manifesto, a plan. At noon I walked to my clinic to clear charts. Children don't pause their needs for adult drama. Mrs. Valdez hugged me when I handed her a new fidget for Mateo. You look tired, she said gently. Learning how to sleep with a spine, I said. She laughed. I meant it. On my way back, I stopped by a print shop and made one more copy of everything. I bought a small binder clip. I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to make a folder look like it belongs at a table. At 3 p.m., Mark sent one more text. I've booked a therapist. Family systems. Tomorrow 2 p.m. If you'll come, Dr. Rivera. We can change the time if needed. I looked out Ruth's window at a line of trees that had started to turn. First coffee, I wrote. Then we schedule therapy together. But thank you for the effort. Understood, he replied. That evening Ruth and I cooked pasta and did the dishes slow. She dried each plate like it was worth keeping. Do you want me at the coffee tomorrow? She asked. I need to speak for myself, I said. But will you be 10 minutes away? Closer, she said, and squeezed my shoulder. Before bed, I opened the Dots album and added one last image, my hand on Ruth's table, palm open, pen beside it, a reminder that I had tools. I plugged in my phone, then unplugged it and shut it off. Silence can be a tool, too. Morning came soft and clear. I dressed like myself, jeans, sweater, a ring that wasn't delicate. I slid the blue folder into my tote and checked the spine with my thumb. It felt solid. At 9:55, I walked to the corner coffee shop. Big windows, people studying, milk steaming. Mark was already there at a small table by a plant that made its own shade. He stood when he saw me, then sat because I didn't reach out. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I set the folder on the table between us. We're going to talk, I said, and we're going to look at facts. He looked at the folder. He swallowed. Okay. Outside, the bus hissed and moved on. Inside, I opened the cover. Mark stood when I reached the table, then sat because I didn't reach for his hand. The coffee shop smelled like milk and cinnamon. A plant made a small green shade over us. Thanks for coming, he said. I set the blue folder down between us. We're going to deal in facts, I said, not moods. He nodded like a student who finally brought a pencil. Okay. I opened the folder. First page, the timeline. Second, the headcount email. Third, the invitation with its heavy paper. Last, boundaries, 6 lines. Simple, black ink. He read the first page slow. His jaw worked once, then stilled. He read the second. When he reached the planner's line, 22 place cards at main table. 1 overflow staff chair as needed, he exhaled like he had been holding his breath since last night. Where did you get this? He asked. Ruth was CC'd. Old charity habit. She printed it this morning. He stared at the sentence again, like it might change if he looked long enough. It didn't. I'm sorry, he said. For what? I asked. He stopped, looked at me. For believing Mom is particular meant it's not about you. For asking you to make peace with a system that needs you small to stay smooth. For not standing up. For last night. For before last night. I didn't rush to fill the space. I let the apology sit and earn its own chair. He lifted the boundaries page. Your name on invitations and place cards. He read. No family-only games that exclude spouses. No comparisons to exes. No triangulation. Same-day repair. If lines are crossed, we leave. He set it down. This is clear. It's the price of safety, I said. Not just for me. For us. He rubbed his forehead. I grew up learning one job. Keep Mom happy. If she's calm, the house is calm. My dad learned it. Paige and Andrew learned it. I learned it best. I carry it like a rule. He looked at me. That rule breaks my marriage. Yes, I said. He didn't argue. He didn't explain his childhood like a pass. He reached for his coffee and didn't drink it. I called a therapist, he said. Family systems. Dr. Rivera. I didn't want to book without you, but I wanted to show you I was moving. Good, I said. We pick a time together. Today, if you can, he said. I don't want this to cool into normal. 2:00, I said. I cleared my afternoon. His shoulders dropped half an inch. Thank you. I slid the boundaries page back to him. These aren't threats, I said. They're promises to myself. If you're with me, we can build from here. I'm with you, he said. I'm afraid, he added, simple as weather. But I'm with you. We sat quiet a moment and listened to the steam one scream, then stop. I closed the folder. He paid for our coffees though mine had gone cold. Outside, buses sighed and moved on. Dr. Rivera's office was soft light and sturdy chairs. No tissue boxes in the center like an invitation. One on the shelf. Reachable. Respectful. She shook our hands, then sat with a notebook balanced on her knee. What brings you? She asked. I looked at Mark. You go first, I said. I needed to hear his framing. He did not circle. My mother controls the room. We all adjust to keep her calm. I have protected her feelings over my wife's reality. Last night my mother served steak to everyone and a salad to Hannah and said she only ordered for family. I did nothing. He met Dr. Rivera's eyes. I want to stop being that man. Dr. Rivera nodded once. Not dramatic. And you? She asked me. I want to be counted, I said. By name. In seats. In how we repair harm. I want a marriage where the person I love stands next to me when a line is crossed. Not behind the person who drew it. Dr. Rivera wrote 2 short lines. You are describing a fusion and control system, she said. One person's comfort sets the terms. Everyone else fuses to that comfort to avoid conflict. It looks orderly. It runs on fear. She turned to Mark. You were trained to read your mother first and yourself last. Marriage asks for a reordering. I know, he said. Knowing isn't doing. Doing starts small and firm, she said. Pick one boundary today, then a second next week. Then hold them even when the system protests. It will protest. She looked at me. What is a first boundary that would make you breathe? My name on invitations and place cards. I said, not guest. Hannah, and no family-only games that erase spouses. Mark nodded. Done. Not a promise here, Dr. Rivera said. Gentle but strict. And action. How will you make that real? I will call my mother tonight, he said. Not text. I will say, from now on, every invitation and place card includes Hannah by name. No more family-only exclusions. If that doesn't happen, we will not attend. If it happens in the room, we will leave. He paused. And if she cries, I stay kind and hold the line. Dr. Rivera made a small check mark. Good. Second boundary? No comparisons to exes. I said. No, Brooke. Done, he said again, then corrected himself. I will say, we won't discuss past girlfriends. It disrespects my marriage. If you start, I will end the conversation and call back tomorrow. Better, Dr. Rivera said. How will you support repairs? Same day, I said. If something slips, we address it before we sleep. Name it. Plan a fix. No pretending it didn't happen. Dr. Rivera leaned back. This will change how holidays feel, how dinners feel. You will both be uncomfortable. That is not failure. That is the system rebalancing. The question is not will your mother change? The question is will you hold the boundary even when she doesn't? Mark looked at me. Yes, he said, and this time his voice had weight. We scheduled 3 more sessions. At the door, Dr. Rivera said, remember, loyalty to origin is honorable. Loyalty to your marriage is essential. You can respect both. You cannot obey both. Outside, the light had shifted. We walked to the train in silence. At the corner, my phone buzzed. A text from Charles, if you meet me tomorrow, I will listen first. Mark saw the name and didn't flinch. Let's meet him, he said, and tonight I make the call. Okay, I said. We waited for the walk sign. Cars moved. The city breathed. So did I. Charles's office sat high above the river, glass on 2 sides, the city moving like proof that change can look like motion. A receptionist led us to a conference room with a long table and a view that made people feel small. I chose a chair halfway down, back to the wall. Mark sat beside me. He squeezed my hand once, then let go. Veronica was already there, silver jacket, posture like a ruler. She didn't stand. Charles did. Hannah, Mark, thank you for coming. Thank you for asking, I said. Veronica folded her hands. I hope we can resolve this quickly, she said, as if we were here about a billing error. Mark didn't wait to be invited. He leaned forward, elbows off the table, voice steady. I asked for this meeting, he said, not Hannah. He glanced at me, then back at his parents. I need to speak first. Veronica's brows rose a fraction. All right. I've been a son who kept the peace, he said. That made me a husband who failed my wife. I'm not doing that anymore. Silence opened a chair for the next sentence. From now on, Mark continued, our marriage comes first. That means boundaries. I'm going to be clear. He set a single sheet on the table. The words were simple, in black ink. He didn't push it to them. He read it out loud. First, invitations and place cards use Hannah's name. No more guest. Second, no family-only games or photos that exclude spouses. Third, no comparisons to exes. Fourth, no triangulation if there's an issue. You address me, not Hannah. Fifth, when a line is crossed, we repair it the same day. Sixth, if the boundary is ignored in the room, we leave. No scene. We just go. He looked at his mother. These are not suggestions. Veronica smiled without warmth. Mark, darling, you're upset. Last week was unfortunate. It was cruel, he said, and the word didn't shake. You served steak to everyone and a salad to my wife and said you only ordered for family. Her chin lifted. Counts were off. You know how these things go. Charles cleared his throat. Veronica, he said, quiet. The headcount email said 22 dinners and 22 place cards. This morning. A flicker passed through her eyes. Caterers make mistakes. Mother, Mark said. Not mom this time. Please stop insulting us with pretty words. You planned it that way. You've been planning small exclusions for 2 years. I let you. That ends now. She stared at him like she could make him 14 again. You are overreacting. I'm reacting at last, he said. She turned to me, as if to find easier ground. Hannah, dear, I never intended to offend. You've misread. I read exactly what you wrote. I said, calm, in place cards, in chairs, in family first photos, in a salad that wasn't a mistake. I don't need an apology you don't believe. I need change. Charles sat back, hands folded. I do, too, he said, surprising her. I've looked the other way for decades. That stops here. Veronica's smile thinned. So you're both against me? No, Mark said. We're for us. She took a breath like a sip of water. And if I don't agree to your list? Then we will have limited contact, Mark said. We will love you from farther away. We won't attend events where my wife is erased. We won't bring our future children into rooms where respect is conditional. The future children line hung there like a bell no one had expected to hear. It rang for me, too. I didn't look at Mark. I felt him. Veronica's voice softened. The most dangerous version of her. I only ever wanted the best for you, she told Mark. For all of us. The best doesn't require someone to be small, he said. A long moment. Street noise far below. A gull cut a white line across the windows and was gone. What does change look like? Veronica asked. In practice? Small and firm. I said. You send an invitation with my name on it. You keep a place card with my name at your table. You don't mention Brooke. If you slip, you name it and repair it the same day. If someone at your table forgets me, you correct them out loud. In the room, you count me. Veronica's jaw worked once. You want counseling, I suppose. That would help, Mark said. Family sessions. We've already started couples therapy. With a stranger digging through our business? With a professional helping us stop hurting each other, he said. She looked at Charles. He met her eyes and didn't look away. I'll go, he said. Veronica smoothed an invisible thread on her sleeve. I will consider it, she said, then added, I can agree to invitations and place cards. And no comparisons. The word felt foreign in her mouth. And family only? I asked. She hesitated, then nodded once. We'll include spouses. And if there's a slip? Mark said. I will address it the same day, she said, slower now, tasting each word. And if it happens in the room, I will correct it. It wasn't an apology, it was a beginning shaped like one. Charles exhaled. Thank you. Veronica looked at me, not through me, not past me, at me. Hannah, she said. The first time my name sounded like my name. I will try. Trying is good, I said. Consistency is better. She didn't argue. We stood. There were no hugs, no performative smiles. Charles walked us to the door. I'm proud of you, he told Mark, low. To me, I'm sorry. I will do better. In the elevator, Mark stared at the numbers as they blinked down. How do you feel? He asked. Like we moved the furniture, I said. The room is the same, but walking through it is different. He nodded. Tonight, I'll call Dr. Winters, the family therapist Charles mentioned. Okay. On the street, the wind came off the river and woke my face. I took Mark's hand. He squeezed back. We stepped into a crosswalk that belonged to no one and both of us at once. 6 months is not a miracle. It's a calendar, but a calendar can teach people to keep promises. The first proof arrived as paper, an envelope from Lake Forest, cream as usual, but the card inside said, Hannah Reed Mark Ellison, not guest. My name in ink, spelled right, centered. I took a photo and sent it to Ruth. She replied with a confetti emoji and, frame it or burn it, your choice. I put it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a lemon. Family therapy began on Tuesdays with Dr. Winters. The first session. Veronica sat very straight and spoke in complete sentences that almost sounded like apologies, then landed just short. I maintained standards, she said. Dr. Winters nodded once. And when standards erase people, what do you call that? Veronica's mouth tightened. A mistake. Then how do you repair a mistake? He asked. She looked at Mark, then at me. You name it, she said, like she was reading off a card, and you fix it the same day. We held to that rule. At the next Ellison dinner, my place card waited between Mark and Charles, Hannah, not Mrs. Not a blank space. I exhaled without meaning to. Veronica noticed. Is the font acceptable? She asked, voice careful. It's perfect, I said. Thank you. During appetizers, someone started, family photo? And Veronica said, before I could breathe, everyone this time. She put a hand on my elbow, light pressure, not ownership, and guided me into the frame. Her hand shook once. Mine didn't. Small slips still happened. At brunch in March, she said, brew, and caught herself. Hannah, she corrected, cheeks coloring. She looked at me. I apologize. Old pattern. It was fast. It was public. It mattered. Later, she stood beside me near the kitchen pass, watching a tray come through. Tell me about your clinic, she said. Not a test. Not small talk. I told her about Mateo's brand new S. About Mia's first successful button. About how we use stickers like currency and laughter like oxygen. She listened, chin tilted like she was learning a new subject. Rewarding, she said. Not pretty. Rewarding. Progress is sometimes a single word. We kept meeting Dr. Rivera, too. She gave us homework, practice the leave. Not a threat. A drill. One night in April, at a partner's house, someone made a joke that landed wrong. You city girls are tough. Our women are refined, and the room looked to Veronica. Then to me. Mark didn't wait. He squeezed my hand, looked at the host, and said, we're heading out. Early day. No scene. Just shoes, coats, door. In the car he exhaled. How was that? Solid, I said, and kind. He smiled without looking at me. His hands were steady on the wheel. At our place in the city, we started open-door dinners once a month, long table, different chairs, chili that didn't care which spoon you used. The rule was simple, anyone who came belonged. We invited Andrew and Stephanie first. They arrived with a salad and a question, do we keep the forks at 5 o'clock or can we live? Live, I said, and Stephanie laughed into the dish towel while we dried plates. Paige came next and chopped onions like therapy. I told Mom I should have spoken up sooner, she said, eyes watering. She said she didn't raise cowards. I told her I raised me. Good, I said. We hugged over the cutting board. Charles showed up with a bottle he didn't explain and stories I hadn't heard. I used to write speeches for other people, he said. Now I'm learning to speak for myself. He helped Mark take out the trash like they'd been doing it forever. One afternoon a square box arrived with a note tucked under the string. From the caterer. Inside, a voucher for dinner for two at a little restaurant near the river. The card read, everyone deserves a plate. I sat on the couch with the box in my lap and let the tears come. Clean and unhidden. Mark sat beside me, quiet, his arm around my shoulders like a sentence that didn't need words. We still tripped. In May, during a family planning call, Veronica slid toward control like a car hitting black ice. For the Memorial Day cookout, we'll do family photos at 3. We'll have a seating plan on the lawn. Hannah, perhaps you could. Stop, Mark said. Not loud, not harsh. A single break. We'll come if there's no tiered seating and photos include everyone. If that's hard today, we'll skip this one and see you next week. Silence. Then, understood, Veronica said. No tiered seating, everyone in. She took a breath you could hear through the phone. Thank you for telling me in the moment. After we hung up, I looked at him. You didn't tremble. I did, he said, laughing, on the inside. But I kept the line. At the cookout, kids ran crooked routes through the grass and a neighbor's dog tried to eat a napkin. Someone yelled, picture time, and the group gathered messy and grinning. Veronica stood next to me, close enough that our sleeves touched. Stay, she said, not a command. More a plea. I did. In June, the photo wall in the Lake Forest house changed. My wedding picture appeared between Paige's Cabo trip and Andrew's graduation. I stopped in front of it without meaning to. Veronica joined me. We looked at the frame together. It was overdue, she said. Thank you, I said. She glanced at me. Consistency, she said, like she'd been carrying the word around to show me at the right moment. I nodded. Better than trying. She almost smiled. On a Sunday evening in July, Ruth came over for spaghetti. We ate on mismatched plates and told the same story 3 ways. When I walked her to the elevator, she squeezed my hands. You didn't burn the house down, she said. You opened a window. Air helps, I said. Back inside, Mark poured the last of the wine and leaned against the counter. Do you ever think about last October? He asked. Every time I sit at a table with my name on it, I said, but it gets quieter. He lifted his glass. To quiet. To steady, I said. We clinked. Outside, the city moved. Inside, we did too. Not perfect, not finished, just better, on purpose. Spring made Lake Forest softer. The hedges put out new green like apology. We drove up with the windows cracked. The kind of day that lets you believe people can change because the trees just did. Ready? Mark asked at the curb. I'm ready for myself, I said. He nodded like that was the right answer. Inside, the foyer smelled like lemon and bread. A quartet tuned in the next room, but quieter now. Or maybe I just didn't give them my whole attention. Veronica stood by the doorway in a navy dress. Silver at her wrist. Not armor this time, just jewelry. Hannah, she said, and my name didn't wobble. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me, I said, and meant it. We moved toward the dining room. The table was beautiful again, candles, low flowers, silver set like lines in a notebook, and there it was, a place card in a clean serif, centered between 2 forks. Hannah Reed. I exhaled, not a sigh, a release. Veronica watched my face. If the font isn't. It's perfect, I said. Thank you. She nodded once, like we were both learning how to make small things matter. Mark brushed my shoulder with his hand. I'll grab you water, he said, and headed for the sideboard. Charles came up on my other side, eyes kind. Welcome, he said. You're exactly where you belong. Thank you, I told him, and felt the truth of it settle. People found their seats without ceremony. Aunt Ruth slid in across from me, raised her brows, and tilted her head at my card like it was a framed diploma. I smiled back. The head server announced the first course. Bowls landed in front of every person, including me. No one had to ask. No one had to glance for permission. I picked up my spoon and tried the soup. Good. Warm all the way through. Between courses, small talk zigzagged. Investments. Vacations. A neighbor's kid who learned to ride a bike. Paige leaned in. I'm trying that pasta trick you posted, she said. Salt like the sea? Like the sea, I said, and taste first. She laughed, and it wasn't brittle. When the main course came, the room shifted the way rooms do at the smell of butter. Silver trays, gentle clinks, compliments ready on tongues. A plate settled in front of me, salmon with lemon and a small tangle of greens. I looked up. I remembered you prefer fish, Veronica said. There's steak as well if you'd rather. Salmon is perfect, I said. Thank you for asking. It was on the menu plan, she said. Quiet, on purpose. Consistency, not accident. I tucked that away like a stone I wanted to keep. We ate. Mark tried a bite of my salmon and traded me a roasted carrot for one crisp end. Across the table, Andrew asked me about the clinic's summer program. I told him about kids who think therapy is play because we make it that way. That sounds like work that counts, he said, and didn't look to anyone else for approval. Halfway through, a small slip, a server skipped Paige with the sauce. Veronica noticed first. She raised her hand, not sharp, just clear. We're missing one here, she said. The server returned, apologetic. Paige said thanks and kept talking about basil. The room didn't grow teeth. Repair happened out loud and we moved on. I felt something in my shoulders loosen. We weren't balancing on eggshells, we were walking on floor. After dessert, yes. For everyone. A citrus tart that made the candlesticks jealous, people drifted toward coffee. I stayed at the table a moment, tracing the edge of my place card with one finger. A small rectangle. A whole story. Veronica came back. Hands clasped like she was choosing words. I've been practicing, she said. The repairing quickly. I've noticed. I said. Thank you. She glanced at the flowers. When I was young, my mother thought manners made safety, she said. I believed her too long. She met my eyes. I'm learning that seeing people makes safety. It does, I said, and I'll keep choosing my safety if the room forgets. Good, she said. Please keep choosing it. It wasn't a ribbon-tied apology. It was better, a sentence we could build a room around. In the foyer, people found coats and hugs. Charles squeezed my shoulder. Open door dinner next month? He asked. Always, I said. Bring a story. Not a bottle? He teased. Both, I said. Outside, the air had that late spring chill that reminds you summer isn't guaranteed, you still have to show up for it. We walked to the car. Mark opened my door, then leaned on the roof. How are you? He asked. Steady, I said. Not because the room was perfect, because I was. He smiled, small and real. You were. We drove back toward the city. Trees blurred. The river caught light. My phone buzzed with a text from Ruth, a photo of my place card and 3 words, looks like air. I laughed out loud. At home, I set the card on our mantel. I didn't frame it. I didn't burn it. I left it plain. A reminder, I don't need permission to belong. I choose my seat, and I keep it by staying myself. If you've ever been the empty plate, I see you. You don't have to make a scene to make a boundary. Put your name on your own card. Say what safety looks like. And if a room forgets you, leave it. Not as a threat, as a promise to yourself. I turned off the kitchen light. The room held. So did I.